Hi everyone, TasChic here, and I'm sitting here with a good friend and leading firefighter for the Latrobe Fire Station, Mike Clarke. Hi Mike.
How you going, Beck?
Good. I've got a couple of questions here
Yep.
for you to answer, because I'm doing a video on my heroes and why.
Yep.
And I picked you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, what gear was best used to protect you in the intensity of the fires in Victoria?
Basically we use, in Tasmania we use two different types of gear. We have structural firefighting clothing, which is heavier, thicker clothing that we use for house fires because the heat intensity is much greater. It weighs a lot more, but it is much hotter to wear, so heat stroke is a bit of a problem with that sort of stuff. And the other sort of gear we use is bush firefighting gear, which is it's a thinner material that your normal sort of overalls are made out of, but it's treated so it's flame resistant, fireproof, and much easier to move around in because you do cover quite a few k's at a major bushfire. So yeah, the gear does differ a bit. The helmets are a lot lighter for bush firefighting as well. So we mainly took our bush firefighting gear with us to Victoria because that's pretty much all we're going to be doing.
Very good. What training has best helped you to best control the fires that you have faced?
Training we receive in Tasmania is fairly intense for volunteers. Each volunteer is required to attend a certain amount of training courses before they actually get to turn out to a call. Then you can move into more specialised training, breathing apparatus, structural tactics and all those sorts of things come in as well. So, excuse me, we are quite well trained, even though we are volunteers. The service provides us with nationally recognised training under the public safety training package. So all our training is nationally accredited, and everybody is quite well trained.
So training's intense?
It's fairly intense. Like you put in a lot of time at the station, and you put in a lot of time to attend training courses as well. So it can be fairly involved. Like I said, the more courses you do, obviously the more time you've got to give up. So but everyone seems to enjoy doing it, so that's all part of the job.
So your training's not limited to just firefighting though. I understand that you do first aid certificates and occupational health and safety stuff.
All that sort of stuff. The Tasmanian Fire Service has a role in just about every sort of emergency you can think of, from bushfires, structural fires, rescue calls, helping the ambos out sometimes with patient retrieval and things like that. It can be fairly involved. We do some storm damage work too to help out the SES when they're a bit short-staffed. There's a lot more to it than just firefighting. Yeah.
So you got to work with fireys from all over Australia in Victoria. How did that work for you, like the group dynamic?
Yeah, it was good fun. Like you're kind of a member of a brotherhood, like an extended family. So everybody's got the same respect for each other. You go over and you have a lot of good fun with the other guys. Everyone sort of talks about the same kind of things. You discuss differences in gear and tactics, and then you start telling stories from fires you've been to, and before you know it, you're best of mates. So we worked primarily with the Department of Sustainability and Environment over there, and we did a little bit of work with the CFA as well, but mainly the DSC. And we got along really well with them. We had a lot of fun. So a lot of fun in a fairly bad situation. So got to keep your
you made the best of what you had.
Yeah, you made the best of what we could. So it was good fun. Always good fun catching up with other people around Australia.
So when facing these fires, what is the key things you have to remember to stay safe yourself?
Once again, coming back to our training, obviously we're trained to minimise the risk in every possible situation. So you look for the warning signs when the fire's starting to spot behind you, changes in wind direction, making sure you've got adequate water supply, escape routes, and all these things that you're taught in your training courses all come into play. So once again, the training side of things, at the time it probably seems mundane, a bit boring, but when you're faced with fairly large fires like that, it all comes flooding back to you pretty quick, and it becomes fairly essential to your survival sometimes. So the main risk we had over there were trees falling down. A lot of the trees that had burned out prior to us going in on night shift were getting fairly unstable, and a lot of trees coming down. So unfortunately there was the fire from the ACT was killed, but luckily we had no major injuries while we were there, so we had a good run.
Good.
Mm.
So, Mike, did you find it awkward facing the fires in a place that you weren't familiar with, in terrain that you hadn't been around before?
The terrain in Victoria is very much like the terrain here in Tassie, so we were fairly used to the areas we were going into, even though we didn't know the local areas. The terrain was very much similar. One thing we did notice was there was a lot of fuel built up around a lot of the houses in Victoria. In Tasmania, we advocated a lot more land clearing, and through legislation, we're probably the landowners are allowed to do that sort of thing a lot more freely than they are here in Victoria. Obviously, they've got issues with their councils and up there with land clearing, so that's probably something that will come up after the coronial inquest. But the terrain was very similar, and at the end of the day, bush is bush, it all burns. So we managed okay.
Now, we've already touched on trucks and uniforms, but did you find that the training you undertook with trucks and bushfires helped you over there a lot, or?
Yeah, we took some of our own vehicles over. We took our light tankers over. Tasmanian gear actually is pretty well state of the art compared to a lot of the other services around Australia. Our light tankers pretty much all brand new, the ones we took over, and the guys over there loved them. They were very impressed. Our fabrication division in Hobart have actually had requests from the CFA to use our design for their new vehicles as well. So we in Tasmania, most of the volunteer brigades have a heavy pumper tanker, which is a 3,000 litre four-wheel drive tanker pumper. We use that primarily for our structural calls, rescue jobs, and backup for bushfires for bulk water cartage. We use a medium tanker, which is on a canter chassis. It's another four-wheel drive vehicle. We use that primarily for backup at structural calls, and then first response to vegetation fires. And then we use our light tankers for vegetation fires as well, which is what we took on the boat to Victoria. So they're the three main vehicles we use here in Tassie. And as I said, our gear compared to some of the other guys on the mainland, we're very lucky that we've got some really good equipment here in Tasmania.
And some good firefighters.
And some good fighters, yeah.
Previously to today, we've actually filmed you putting some gear on and showing us how fast you have to get ready. Can you talk us through that?
Well, basically what happens for the volunteers, we all carry a pager. On receiving a call, Firecom, which is our communications centre in Hobart, will page that brigade. All our pages will go off at once, and everybody who is available will all rush to the station. You throw your gear on as quick as you can and jump in the truck and head off. On the initial pager message, it will give you a location, the type of incident you're going to, whether it's a structural fire or a car accident or anything like that. That'll determine what vehicle and what gear you put on. So you've got that little bit of initial information to go off, and that can greatly help in your equipment selection and on the way to the job, what tactics you might have to employ to resolve the situation. So
and you put on the house fire gear?
Yeah, the structural firefighting gear, and the breathing apparatus set. Once again, coming back to the training, we're all trained to fight various types of fires. The BA qualifying is fairly intense. You've got to crawl through a maze of tunnels and tight passageways, which they also use artificial smoke and heat, so it's very claustrophobic and very confined, and it's good training, so but nothing really sort of prepares you for the first house fire. That's fairly intense, so you tend to use a lot of air out of your cylinder, and you get fairly excited and fairly freaked out for your first fire. But it's all good training, and and getting your gear on as quick as possible obviously makes it a lot easier to get into the position a lot quicker and get the fire as quick as you can. So
So before we head into the questions about reflecting on what you've been through, is there anything that you would like to say or add about the equipment you've used, the people, the fires and the effect?
I think the main message we can get across now is to property owners that live either out in the country or in the urban fringe that do have bush around them, or you know, a lot of vegetation around them, is especially here in Tassie, ring the 1-800 number and get a copy of the Will You Survive DVD. It's free, it'll be mailed out to you, and take all the precautions necessary to protect your home. We advocate the stay and defend policy here in Tasmania. If you are prepared, and that is the key phrase, if you are prepared, by all means stay and defend your property. If you're not prepared, get out early. And that's where a lot of people died. In Victoria, they made a decision to get out too late, and they got caught in the fire on the roads heading out or in their homes. So I think preparation is the key. If you're living in those environments where there's the potential for wildfire, definitely be prepared.